Welcome, Fleshies, to a tale that's sure to make you barely believe your ears. We're about to unleash a story from Chardhaven, a small town that found itself in a bit of a hairy situation. It seems a certain corporation had its sights to expand, and when their offers weren't taken, they decided to pause for thought. Then they took a wild approach. Get ready, because things are about to get feral. You might even say the story has some real claws to it. So lean in close and find out just what kind of big reveal awaited the unsuspecting folks of Chardhaven. Just remember, in this town, you might find yourself on a very unexpected menu. And now, letting it out. It's April 21st, 2026. A small town in South Carolina called Chardhaven is about to cause some trouble by the company called the Dawson Farrell Safari Corporation is looking to expand the land that they own. They had their eyes set on the town of Chardhaven, and they have been for months trying to get the people of the town to move, going as far as to offer them money to move, but no one will take their offers. Money that the company thought was more than fair. They don't want the homes, to be honest. They just want the land. So the homes would be destroyed or left to be put into the creation's enclosures. They've been working on a project that will require the land to be restored to what was once there, or at least partially restored. The CEOs wanted this work done yesterday. They decide, rather than play nice, that they'll force their hand upon the town. Speaking to their scientist and their staff, he comes up with a plan to deal with their problem. They will unleash their pet project on the town. The town won't stand a chance against what's about to be unleashed on it. There are people, though, who are against the plan, but they are told to either get with the plan or leave with the understanding that if they say anything to anyone about their work, that they would be sued for all they are worth. It was also implied that their pet project could even secretly visit their families should anything be leaked. The men and women who brought this project to fulfillment are getting ready to bring agony upon this town. All of this must be done quietly, so no one has a chance to go to the authorities with their actions. They also want to keep the news out of the press as well. The people in the staff of the organization fear for the citizens because they have seen what these creatures do to the pigs that they get. No sense in letting the word out before they are officially ready to make the big reveal. This surprise for Chardhaven comes in the form of 4 adult short-faced bears. They all stand around 5.6 feet at the shoulder and all weigh around 2,200 pounds. And if they stand up, these bears will reach around 11 to 14 feet tall. There are 2 males and 2 females. And yes, humans will be on the menu for sure. We know polar bears see people as food, and these bears aren't going to leave much behind when it comes to their meals. Maybe they'll be lucky, and there won't be anyone left to spill the beans on their pets. The crew transport the bears in semi-trailers to the outskirts of town, and then they remotely release the bears. The animals sniffed the air and took off. All 4 of them headed for a farm that has goats. It didn't take them long to smash through a gate. The noise which brought out the owners. At first, the owners had not been seen by the bears. But one of the people picked something up and threw it at the bears, which didn't go over well with the critters. The largest of the males stops his pursuit of the goats in favor of what he perceived to be easier prey. It turned in the direction of the thrown rock. Curious, it stood up on its back legs. Seeing the people, it got back down on all 4 and then growled before moving towards the humans. The couple turned and took off running. Instantly, they put targets on their backs by running away. All 4 bears took off after them. One of the people tripped over something in the yard and fell. Seeing this tumble, one of the males went in for the kill. The person who fell was a woman, the wife of the guy who threw the rock. She screamed as the bear clamped down on her shoulder and then dragged her away from the other bears. Her husband could hear the screams and the cracking of bones. He grabbed a stick and struck a bear, but all he did was make the bear angry. The bear charged him, but instead of flat out unaliving him, the bear smacked him with his paw and knocked him out, which left him unable to defend himself. The bear sniffed the man before calling to his mate to let her know that there was a meal for her. She too came to the man and began to feed. Lucky for him, he was already unconscious. The other bears left the yard in search of their meals, leaving behind a silence broken only by the scent of blood and the sounds of scared goats. The other pair left the others to search for their meal. They walked past an almost endless sea of crops until they came across the lake where 2 men were fishing. Luckily, they were on opposite sides of the lake. The men were terrified at the sight of the bears, and they ended up calling their local fish and wildlife biologist and were told that there were no grizzlies in their state. The bears moved on after drinking some water. The men did get pictures of the bears, but the company has security forces following the bears. Disguising themselves as state police, they confiscated the phones, deleted the photos, and then scrubbed all social media apps and deleting posts related to the bears. Their tech department's trackers tracked down and deleted any shared posts, reporting those accounts for spreading false information. The bears moved on, heading from the field straight to a farmhouse. This one had no animals, but children that were playing outside. The kids spotted the bears. The older brother, too, saved his younger siblings. The older brother, to save his younger siblings, took off running. leaving himself open to attack, and attack they did. The teenager was only 17. His siblings, still alive, could hear the tearing flesh and the cracking bones as the bears ate. The kids had ran into the storm cellar to get away. Everyone else in the household were gone. Don't worry, the corporation is actively monitoring the events as they unfold via a drone. The bears moved on after trying their best to get to the hiding morsels in their underground location. Having some hearts, the bears were moved. Unfortunately, they came across an elementary school and were moved again, and instead, they herded them towards a church where they're having a preschool, where recess is going on at the moment. The problem is that both bears had been herded to the location. Some of the adults got the kids inside the church, while others also loaded them into the church's storm shelter. 3 women, however, didn't make it to safety, and they won't be going home. One of the bears broke the windows of the church as they tried to get to the terrified kids in the church. They also flipped over several cars that had people in them. When the bears moved on, the corporation's employees did the same thing that they did to the men at the lake. They also advised everyone to go home the long way and paid them with hush money. They were warned that if they said anything to anyone, that they might just find some angry company at their house, just like what they had at church. And they made it abundantly clear what they meant by that. And the church's employees were scared enough to never say anything to anyone. But the rampage didn't stop there, because the bears had made it into town. They managed to enter a small grocery store where they broke into the meat department and helped themselves to some meat, a customer, the manager, and a butcher in the department. The store was trash. There was enough blood, broken jars, and enough damage to force the store into closing. There was enough blood, broken jars, and enough damage to force the store into closing. The bears were still in the store when the drones led them out of the store and into the streets. This led them down the next intersection. The bears see a pond off in the distance and decide to cool off. This gives law enforcement a chance to step in and deal with the bears. The officers take out the bears and then take out the drones. When agents from the corporation appeared and demanded to know why their employer's property was destroyed, they were arrested. They were ordered to call their bosses, and one of them did as he was told. They promised him that they would let the judge know that they cooperated with the police. When speaking with the CEOs, they were told that they couldn't be touched. So the sheriff said, "We will see about that." They go to the press with photos of the bears, as well as body counts, damages done by the bears, cost of repairs, wages that will be lost while businesses are shut down, and everything can be restored. They demanded the CEOs be held accountable for their actions, for their employers, and a full investigation be done. When it eventually hits the national stage, stockholders pull out. The people who were threatened with their lives and jobs are granted protection, and they speak out. And guess what happened? The men who thought they couldn't be touched and could just buy out an entire town and use their creatures to kill civilians ended up in cuffs. Despite the horror, justice was served. The end. Well, Fleshies, that was quite the bear of a story, wasn't it? We saw how a corporate takeover in Shard Haven turned into something truly feral, proving that when offers are refused, some businesses are willing to unleash a whole lot of agony. It just goes to show you never know what's lurking in the shadows or what's on the menu. A big thank you to Nature Guy X46 for digging up this wild tale and letting it out in such a clawsome way. Until next time, goodbye, Fleshies, and pleasant nightmares!